few years ago, I go outside to check my mail, and I see my neighbor Chuck cutting his grass, and I'm like, Chuck, what the hell are you doing? It's like 95 degrees out here, you're gonna get heat stroke. But I guess he just likes cutting his grass, so I go to check my mail, and then I smell all that fresh cut grass, and I fall on the ground, and I start choking, and I start seizing up, and when the ambulance gets there, they tell me it's because I'm allergic to fresh cut grass. So then, a few years after that, I joined the military, and I'm at war in a place that's really grassy, and I'm behind enemy lines, getting shot at and all that, and then all of a sudden, the enemy starts charging us with lawnmowers, cutting all the grass in sight. So I smell that grass again, and I start seizing up, and I can't breathe, and I almost died. But then I got to meet the president, and he gave me a Purple Heart, because I'm a hero. When I was little, I was in school with this kid that had like a really little arm. Like one arm was like way smaller than the other one, so we all used to make fun of him, you know, because he kind of looked like a freak. Anyway, his dad was really protective, because his whole family died in an accident when the kid was little. So one time on a school field trip, we all dared the kid to go touch this really sketchy looking van, and the kid actually did it. But then he got kidnapped by the guy in the van, who like turned out to be a dentist. So the dad, being all protective, decided to track the kid down and find him. So he teamed up with this girl that had memory problems. Like, she couldn't remember anything. All she could remember is the address of the dentist's office. So then they met some sharks that didn't eat fish, and I don't really remember what they did. But then a bomb went off, and then they met a sea turtle, and he was very nice. And he gave them a ride to Australia. I always get bullied by this guy named Trevor. He used to call me names like Brace Face, you know, because I wore braces at the time. And he used to pull my pants down in front of all the cheerleaders, and they would all laugh at me and say, ha ha, tiny. So one day, I decided to get revenge on him by pulling his pants down in front of the cheerleaders. And boy did that backfire, because he was hung like a horse. All the girls liked him, even Miss Jenkins. I had a crush on her. She was kind of a hot teacher. But anyway, me and Trevor became friends after that because I helped him get so many girls by pulling his pants down. Well, I work at the mall, right, as an elf, so there's a lot of kids around. So this one kid ran up to me and he was like, elf boy, and he kept throwing candy canes at me, and I was like, listen here, you little if you don't knock it off, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth and knock your teeth out. And then he stomped on my foot, so I popped him in the mouth and knocked his tooth out, and he ran away crying, and I was like, now you're useless and toothless, you little I also used to get bullied by this guy named Travis. Now, Travis was a real freak. He put a wasp nest in my backpack. So whenever I opened my backpack, a bunch of wasps flew out and they started stinging me. So I ran around the classroom taking my clothes off. And then everybody just pointed at me and laughed and said, ha ha, tiny. So I wanted to get revenge on him. So the next day, I put a wasp nest in his backpack. And then when he opened his backpack, he got stung by wasps and he ran around the class taking his clothes off. And boy did that backfire because he was packing. All the girls liked him. Oh yeah. Except we didn't become friends because he was pissed that I put a wasp nest in his backpack. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you order some chicken strips and a side of ranch. And so the waiter comes and he brings the chicken strips, but he forgets the ranch. And you say, excuse me, I think you've forgotten my ranch. And he says, oh, right, I'll be right on that. And then I don't see him for 15 minutes. And then he comes back and he says, can I get you anything? And I say, well, I really would like my ranch. And then he says, oh, right, of course, the ranch. And then he disappears for 30 goddamn minutes and then has the balls to come back and say, hey, can I get you the check? And I say, what you can get me is my fucking ranch. And he says, well, you can't talk to me that way. And I say, I can talk to you any way I want. Let me see your manager. And then he says, I am the manager. And I say, well, that's funny because your name tag says waiter, so go get me the manager. So then the manager comes over and says, is there anything wrong here? And I say, yeah, look at my dry chicken strips. I want some ranch. You're going to comp me this entire meal for free, or I'm going to put one of my ball hairs in the food and say that you did it, and I'm going to get this entire restaurant shut down. And then the manager says, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm going to comp you your entire meal. All your food is free today. And then I say, thank you. I also used to get bullied by this guy named Trent, and we rode the bus together. So what he would do was put gum in my hair, which sucked because then I'd have to shave my head to get the gum out, and then everybody would laugh at me and say, ha ha, baldy and also tiny, you know, because they remembered from when I got pantsed and the whole thing with the wasps. So I wanted to get revenge on him. So what I did was I put gum in his hair, and he had to shave his head. And then the next day, he got hit by a car, and I felt kind of bad. So I went to visit him in the ICU, and I walked in when they were changing his body cast, and he was packing. I mean, all of the nurses wanted to help him. So earlier today I was patrolling in the park, right? And it was a beautiful day. So I was just walking around, minding my own business, and then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this kid runs up and he shoves me. And he yells, tag, you're it! And I'm like, what the hell? What is this, some kind of game? So I start chasing him around, and I'm putting on the burners, right? Because this kid is fast. And he's running around, he's giggling, he yells, you're never gonna catch me! And I'm like, oh, when I catch you, I'm gonna beat your ass. So then, we're running around all over the park, and then he trips and he falls in a sandbox. And I'm like, oh, I got you now, you little bastard. And then he kicks sand in my face. And I'm like, oh, you're not gonna kick sand at me. So I punch him in the face. And I'm like, tag, you're it. And then he starts crying. And then his mom runs over and she's like, you just punched my son in the face. And I'm like, yeah, I did. What are you gonna do about it? So I throw her on the ground and I start arresting her. And then all these people run up with their phones out and they start taking videos of me. And I'm like, that's not good. So I start throwing haymakers. I start punching everybody there who has a phone. And then I take all their phones so there's no evidence of what I did. And I run away. So my grandfather was incredibly rich. I mean, he was a millionaire, just filthy rich. And so he was in the hospital and I was visiting him every day, you know, to make sure I got a piece of that. And then I see that he's on life support. He's being kept alive by a machine. Now I'm thinking, what kind of life is that? That's no way to live, being kept alive by a machine. But he seems happy. He says, when I get this heart transplant tomorrow, I'm going to feel so much better. I can't wait to get out of the hospital. And I hear, I can't wait to get out of the hospital. So I'm thinking I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to help him and I'm going to end his suffering and pull the plug. So I do, and he flatlines and all the nurses come running into the room and I just say that I tripped on the power cord and they believe me. And then, come to find out, what did he leave me in his will? A sofa! Can you believe that? I helped my grandfather go to heaven. Or hell, probably, if all he left me was a sofa. So I run back to my house with all the phones I stole from the people at the park, right? And I throw them down on the counter and I'm like, honey, sell these phones on eBay because we're going to need the money for all the lawsuits we're about to get. So she asked me where the phones came from and I said I confiscated them from some criminals. She goes, okay, well I made you some pizza rolls for dinner. So I start jumping up and down because I love me some pizza rolls. So I grab a handful of them and she's like, careful honey, those are hot. And I'm like, shut up bitch. So I start shoving those pizza rolls in my mouth, right? And then my mouth is on fire. Those pizza rolls are boiling hot. They're burning the crap out of my mouth. I mean, they burn the roof of my mouth so bad, I got a little piece of skin that's hanging down and I keep playing with it with my tongue. It sucks. And then my wife has the audacity to say, I told you they were hot. So I throw the plate at her. I'm like, I know what I did wrong. You don't have to tell me. I should have listened. I know, shut up. So then I'm in a bad mood, right? And then I hear the doorbell ring and I'm like, uh-oh, this must be the angry mob from the park. They want their phones back. But it's not. It's just some Girl Scouts selling Girl Scout cookies. So then I open the door and they say, do you want some Girl Scout cookies? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want some Girl Scout cookies. Shut up. Why am I even here? Take my money. So I give them a 20, right? And then, you're not going to believe this. The Girl Scout says, okay, your cookies are going to be here in 2 to 3 weeks. What? I'm like, what the hell? What kind of Ponzi scheme is this? Are you even really a Girl Scout? So I punch her in the face and I take my money back.